So that's just the topic of today: questioning body, soul, and beyond. Because I mean, one thing that we don't have to question, or we probably have to start there, is there a beyond? Now, even in this entire plethora of questions, body, I know I can touch, this is body. But then when you actually open up yoga texts, or if you actually talk to all the gurus of the world, they'll say body is just not this. There's five more layers beyond this, right? So, body, it's too much of a question. Soul, have we seen it? Have we felt it? How do we know? Where is it? When can we talk to it? And beyond. If only these both are questions, then beyond is a definite question. Like, where do we even start? In fact, this is one of the easiest topic that I've ever spoken in my entire 36 years of life. Is so many questions, and all I did was just open up PPT and say question, 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 question. No answers, right? No answers. Can we move on to the next slide, doctor? Can all of you hear me? uh, Make sense out of me, and see the PPT? Can I have a yes, please?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, done. Thank you. That's my, all right, done. Okay. Now, it's all about wording it, right? It's all about English. It's all about connecting it. So now let's say there are two parameters: body, soul. Now there's one more parameter called mind. Especially in integrative medicine practices, patient come back and tells us that I've been going through this chronic diseases for such a long time, but then the doctor said it's all in your mind and sent me to a psychiatrist. This is like a common occurring in today's medical practice. Now, where is mind? Turn back and ask your doctor, doctor, where is mind? Isn't it my body? Where is it? Why is it sick? How do I make it better? Is a psychiatric medication going to make my mind better, or is it going to make my body better? So, in one such conversations, I am like, okay, there's this, this Dijang enlightening moment that you get. I'm like, okay, mind, the word mind, I'm thinking whoever that brilliant person who put it in, it's probably the connection between body and soul. That is, if the person has really met his soul. Then he said, okay, the place where my body and soul connects is mind. Is I mean, it's my thoughts. The following slides, you'll have all those questions. Is like, is my soul my thoughts? Or is my soul triggering those thoughts? Is my soul answering those thoughts? Is my soul answering those questions? You know, brain is so complicated, but we have comfortably put brain aside because it's a physical parameter. Like heart is the electric circuit, brain is another circuit, right? We're not even taking brain. Mind is not in your head. Mind is there in every cell of your body. Because your cell, the thing that you cannot see, there are so many things that we do not know about our body today. That cell has mind, and that is mind. What is mind? It is the body and soul connected. Is it true? Or is only Dr. Visala making this all up? It can just be both. It probably will be true, and Dr. Visalam is just making it up. But this is what I resonate with. This is what I believe, that body and soul are very much connected. And that is mind for me. And what are your souls? Your souls, that will come to that, right? Now, where do we live? Are our thoughts our soul? What are we attracting? I mean, especially when we are attracted to, like, for example, this whole talk is something I probably attracted for so many years now. Like, let's say, I'll be very precise, like January 21. or 2021 is when I started questioning. Until then, merry-go happy person. No questions, no chaos, no spirituality, no energies, no attraction, nothing. So, what happened in that particular day? Why do we even start questioning this? Is it like our previous lives, previous karma, enlightenment, last life? If you actually go give my astrology to an astrologer, everybody who can read the basic one says, this is your last life. You're not coming to earth anymore. You've lived your life. You're an old soul in a new body. Like, why? Like, how? What did I do right? What am I doing wrong? Like, if you actually do something very wrong, you'll be back on earth. Are yaar. Somebody tell me what is wrong. Theft is wrong, murder is wrong, rape is wrong. What is wrong? Not studying is wrong, not living our life to our fun is wrong. What is wrong? Tell me what is wrong, so that I do not come on this earth again, so that I do not have life elsewhere. What is wrong? So does that mean that there's only one life at a time? No. Don't they say there are parallel universes, multiple earths, different realms? You travel to all those realms in your dreams. The dreams are so vivid, so many things. So where do we live? Our thoughts are soul. For me, if my thought says no, it's wrong, don't do it, then is that my soul? We do not. Uh, I mean, today everything is subjective, friends. Everything is subjective. If I think this is wrong, if I go tell the other person this is wrong, don't do it, he might probably not listen. If somebody else comes and says this is very wrong, why are you even doing this? Will I listen? Because it feels right to me. So, are our thoughts our soul? And I think at some point in time, we will answer all of these questions. Right now, I'm just panting after panting. Let's answer these questions. I mean, I'm sure this is a very well experienced, educated, sensible, enlightened souls of people. Because if we're together, then it should have a meaning, right? So let's answer these questions together. Next slide, doctor. Dr. Ranjan, next slide, please. My favorite questions. Are our souls, are the spirits the same? We will know this, or we will want to know this, when we are very close to death. Death in terms of our own death, death in terms of our loved one's death, death just in terms, death after death after death. And I was in Apollo specialty ICU, that is cancer ICU. On a daily basis, we were declaring 2 deaths, like minimum, on a daily basis, from children to adults to teenagers. People come and ask, I didn't do anything. Why did I get cancer? Why did I have to go through this pain? So that is when you start questioning, are souls and spirits same? Are they same? So, which means they're just different names, different English, different names. I'm sure, I don't know Hindi, but even in Tamil, even in Kannada, you have all of this. You have Manam, you have Avi, you have so many things. Are souls and spirit the same? The next slide, doctor. Following question. What is death? Why does the body die and souls don't die? How do we even know? Why are we even believing these things? Just question the fundamentals. We die, body dies, soul don't die. There is no death for soul. At the end of the day, they'll say energies. Energies can neither be created nor be destroyed. It can only be changed, transferred, manipulated, manifested. How? Why? How do we know souls don't die? Imagine if souls die, then this whole concept of lives, whole concept of past lives, this whole concept of reincarnation, The whole concept of karma is beyond us. Everything then we won't be following anything. If souls don't die, or let's say if souls die, then there's no next life. Then there was no past life. Then why does a body die? If the soul and the body is connected, then mind. Then why are we saying body is dying? Why are we not saying mind is dead? Why are we not saying soul is dead? Why does death cause so much pain? It's scarring. Death for us, death for people otherwise, it's scarring. If it's a general process, right? Birth and death is a general process. Souls don't die. You go to a next life, or you're parallelly traversing next realm. Then why is death so scarring? Let's forget all of that. Then the next question is, which is more powerful? Fine, let's say, okay, let's settle down. Body die, souls don't die. What connects us is body and soul is mind. We're okay, we're happy, we're studying, we're getting married, we're bearing children, we're procreating, we're making earth a better place, we're stabilizing. We're not nomads anymore, we're stabilizing. Now tell me which is more powerful, the mind, the soul, or the body? Is if soul is controlling our mind, and if mind is connecting that to our body, then shouldn't our body be more powerful? Can we control our body's action today? We have been so smart in saying autonomic nervous system, sympathetic, parasympathetic. What is autonomic nervous system? Something that happens automatically without our conscious effort. So if something can happen automatically without our conscious effort, if we can get sick without wanting to get sick, if we can die without wanting to die, then is the body powerful? No. Is our mind powerful? The whole, plethora of manifestation, the whole plethora of intuition, the whole plethora of mind thoughts have power. Do they really have the power? What power are we talking about? Power of what? Power of making money, power of making health, power of healing, power of attracting something, power of controlling the entire world. What is power? Does our soul or mind have the power to do it? Or is the power only restrained to us? The next question is, manifestation even real? Can we do it? If we sit and manifest it with following all the rules, there are so many rules, trust me, there are so many rules. Brahma Muhurta manifestation, I think it's called Sodakasi manifestation. If you actually manifest, and between full moon to then the starting weaning, no moon to the starting wane, that there's that tithi of 2.5 hours. Manifest into it, everything will happen. Manifest in Brahma Murta will happen. Manifest with Shiva, it will happen. Manifest with Krishna, it will happen. Ask your own God, your own deity, your own family deity, it will happen. Manifest in your alpha state, it will happen. What? What will happen? What are you manifesting? Why do we even need to manifest? Then the next question is, if everything is destined, then this whole thing of manifestation goes off board. Oh God. Can we control our world with mind? Can we control our mind? Let's say we are in love and I'm unable to contact that person. Can I even control my mind to stop contacting that person? Love being the simplest example. Hate, anger, vengeance, all the feelings, all the thoughts, those can at least be controlled, because then we know it's bad, it's harmful. But At the end of the day, we can't control it. So don't get me wrong, we can't control it. Love, I want to talk with somebody. This whole telepathy concept, oh, he's there in my mind. But by the way, I have experienced telepathy. I just do not know the science behind it. I think during Corona, I had this very dear friend in South Africa, and I couldn't contact them. And I couldn't contact them, or we were not in talking terms, or something like that. I open up my WhatsApp and I'm like, okay, enough is enough. I want to message this person. He's been in my mind for such a long time. I open up my WhatsApp and I'm starting to type, and I can see that person is typing. Right? I have experienced telepathy. If that is what we are calling telepathy, I've experienced telepathy. But what is the science behind it? Is that person in love with me? Is that person thinking of me? Is that person my soulmate? Is that person my twin flame? Is that person from my previous life? Why are we connected telepathically? Why do we even bond instantly with certain people, and we start hating certain people instantly? And the bond is at various levels. One, it's a physical attraction. The other one is a familial attraction. The other one is the friendly attraction. The other one is a spiritual attraction. The other one is an academic attraction. Why? Same body, same mind, same soul. Why do we have various different attractions to various different people? And with so many other people, it's hate attraction. With so many other people, it's precautionary attraction. Don't get close. If I actually go and talk to my pranic healer, everybody who I tell him, he's like, doctor, your soul is so pure, do not get in contact with them. Doctor, don't do this. Do not attract these people. Doctor, meditate. All you can do in this life is just meditate. Don't fall in love. Don't go for jobs. Don't get married. Don't have children. Don't do anything. Your soul is not meant to do anything in this life. Just stay alone as you are. Protect your soul. Like, if I have to protect my soul and not do anything, why is my soul even on this earth? Why? So, can we control our world with it? Can I control you guys with it? Can I control my parents with it? Can I control my children with it? No. Are we living in a simulation? Why birth? Why death? So many movies. I think one of the very few movies that I like is the Matrixes, the simulation, and I really like Avengers as well. Especially this Corona period and how people are dying out of cardiac arrest. I'm guessing if you've seen that Avenger movie, the last but one, where Thor just does this, and half of the world disappears into dust. I think somebody just did this to our world. Definitely. People just disappeared like dust. Right? The physical people just disappeared like dust. Like I said, that is the external chaos that I've been feeling. One thing that if somebody comes and tells me, no, we're not the only Earth, the universe is bigger and we're so connected to the universe that at Earth we are the smallest of the beings and there's so many powerful things happening outside our world, I would want to believe it. I have no proof. I have no logic behind it, but I would want to believe it. Because even if my this earth's place is so special, so loving, so blessed, there is still chaos somewhere. Where is that somewhere? I think, like I said, 4 years back, January 22nd or 23rd, 2021, is where this entire chaotic response started. But that's where I started seeing God, whatever you want to call it, universe, nature, God, extraterritorials, aliens, call it whatever you want. But that was the only thing I could hold on to, right? That is when all of these questions are. Trust me, you guys, I've been having these questions for 4 damn years with no answers. It's hectic. Are we living in a simulation? Is it a humanoid simulation? Is it a godly simulation? Is it a computer simulation? If it's a simulation, then why birth? Why death? Why pain? Why failure? Why success? Why chosen people? If you actually take the top money making people, people who attract a lot of abundance, uh, people who can explore the earth, explore the world, explore the space, are they godly people? Are they evil people? Are they devilish people? Are they from a different world? Are we part of the universe? Are we part of God? At some point in time, I was actually telling my patients and telling my friends and family that God is part of us. He is experiencing this umpteen number of experiences of all the creatures in the world, starting from ant to cockroach to humans to superhumans. He's part of all of it, and he's experiencing it for some kind of data collection. Imagine that, how we say, the seven chakras, but that's the next question is, we have to experience a certain things I read this book, and there it was like seven lives. We've always been very interested in seven and seven and seven, right? 7, 3, 9, all the magical numbers is because we have seven chakras. So they'll say, in this life, if I die in my stage of second chakra fulfillment, in my next life, I will be born in that second chakra so that I can move forward. If I can move forward and graduate myself to all the seventh chakras, that is when I will have no life. That is when I would have reached moksha. That is when I can live with God. That is when I will move to heaven. All of these theories, all your chakras, your Mooladhara, Manipura, Swadhisthana, Anyata, Vishuddhi, Agnya Chakra, Bindu Chakra, Sahasranama, all of it, all of the chakras, you graduate them. How? Meditate, celibacy, ask questions, find a guru. God will come to you. Surely? Sapta Rishis got all their theories from Lord Shiva itself. Then why are we following celibacy today? Sapta Rishis were married to multiple people with multiple children to procreate the earth. Will Shiva come and tell us? Another topic is non-vegetarian. Sapta Rishis didn't eat. Are you sure? Shiva didn't eat. Are we sure? Is Shiva this alien? We don't know. There is another group of saying they were all humans who had good cerebral power, and they died, and they let go of the body, and they're still there, and we can ask them for help. Why? Don't I have a soul? Isn't God a part of it? Why ask for help? If it has to happen, it will happen. If it cannot happen, it will never happen. What is God giving you? What are the prayers giving you? What are the chantings giving you? Oh, they are giving you the power and the strength to go through this bad period. Why? Why not let me die in that bad period? Why give me the strength? Why help me survive and go through another bad period? Why is life so much ups and downs? Don't we all ask this? If I'm part of universe, why am I unable to see it? Why am I unable to feel it? Or let's say whatever I'm feeling is universe. Then why is it a bigger picture? Why is there even a bigger picture? Is God collecting data? Is he really collecting data for what fun? Next slide, doctor. Everything we know is man-made history. How did he make it? When did souls come into existence? The term souls, who put that there? Why? If you actually go into the psychedelic part of this earth, then you can see things that you cannot regularly see. you can see colors that you do not regularly see, because the so-called psychedelics can open up your consciousness. It open up your brain more than 1%. What we're seeing today, if I'm seeing brown, if you're seeing yellow, red, green, look into it deeply, you'll see more colors. Look into it with a psychedelic, you'll see even more colors. See, I'm not even joking, see. Like, that's very real, right? Is that my access to collective conscious? Did all of this theory come to multiple ancient humans when they had access to collective conscious, when they could have, when they had more access to the brain power, when their cerebrum was open more than 1%? Did all of these stories that we believe today come to them in that altered state of consciousness? Is that what we're believing today? Is that what we are made to believe today? Saying souls. All the history, Krishna, Shiva, mythology, Allah, Jesus, Buddhism, Jainism, is that all that history come because it's man-made? I was watching one YouTube video and there's this English accented man talking, why are Hindu deities blue in color? He says that's because blue is a combination of, no, violet is a combination of red and blue, and it can directly access into your souls, and it has multiple diversifying effects. It can spread energy. That's why most of our gods are blue in color. And then there's another debate that you see. They says most of our gods are blue in color because they were all black men living on this earth who died and who became souls and who protects us, or who protected us when they were humans. If you actually go dig deep into history, again, man written, right? It says Lord Muruga, Lord Krishna, they actually protected their tribe, and they were all black people, protected tribe, and when they died, the tribe made them god because they were the protectors, and they continue to be protectors of which tribe? When did they become god? So when, if I protect my family and when I die, do I become god? Is that all is god? Is that, if my soul is connected to that god, if is it all about protection? Is it all about, oh, when you actually come into that, then souls and purpose? That's the next question all by itself. Next slide, doctor. I already kind of, I'm quite surprised, right? I don't remember the order of slides, but looks like I'm just coded like this. So every time that I'm talking about the previous slide, I do end up talking about the next slide as well. Altered state of consciousness. This time, when I was in a cold pool with this deep, with my ears. I mean, in fact, this is something that I want to tell you guys: is ears is your babe, your fetus. Just think of it like this is the head of the fetus. That's the body of the fetus. This is you. This is your fetus, which is why we have so many things going around in the ears. So this time when I was in the cold pool, and when my head of the fetus was deep underneath that cold water, it was a different experience. I was actually moving up bodily wise and feeling absolutely cold, and it was scary. I wanted to open my eyes immediately. I couldn't open my eyes. Is that altered state of consciousness? And trust me, guys, altered state of consciousness, you get no answers. It is blank to death. Blank. If that is what we are calling altered state of consciousness, it's blank. It's blank, it's black, and you're flying, and it's scary. Unless you're there in that state for maybe a long period of time, which to me is quite impossible now. I don't know if that is what we call altered state of consciousness. Then the collective conscious is where I'm like, your consciousness, your consciousness, your consciousness, all our brains put together, all our mind put together, all our souls put together. I'm wanting to believe it so badly that it becomes collective conscious, and it is so strong that it is so strong for what benefit? When we actually have the psychedelic experience, when we have the collective conscious experience, one thing that I felt is you don't want to ask it anything, nothing materialistic, nothing motivational, no achievement. When you're there in that state, you probably cannot ask it anything. Because then, if you ask it for money, if you ask it for love, if you ask it for happiness, if you ask it for purpose, then you're not in that collective conscious. Because collective conscious should already have everything by the definition of collective conscious. Next slide, Doctor. I think we're reaching the last of it, right? Will we ever get answers to these questions? In this life? Are lives even real? Is time real? Do we have any role to actively play other than just be a vessel of the so-called soul? Let's answer this. Will we ever get answer to these questions? I don't know. In this life, I don't know. Are lives even real? I don't know. Is time even real? Parallel times isn't there so many things that tell us no, we are parallelly traveling, there is a past that's already there parallelly traveling, you are traveling here, and there's a future that's already traveling. This cannot change this, that cannot change this. In fact, there was a documentary which I read that your future is the one that changes your present, because your present is the future that can change your past. Super confusing, but it's much more easier to understand that nothing can change nothing. Then the question is, what are we doing here? Do we even have any role to actively play other than just be a vessel of this soul? Oh no, then the bigger thing is souls have a purpose, and they will make sure that they attain their purpose. If they don't attain their purpose, if they don't learn their lessons the hardest way possible, we are not moving on to our next graduatory state. What the hell is graduatory state? Why do we even need to graduate? Why can't we just being us? Oh, another thing that I wanted to tell here is, how we all think we are the most evolved people and only we can attain moksha, only we can see God. How do we even know that? We think trees can't move. I barely doubt it, right? No. Trees can definitely move. Ants and birds and other creatures, because we told that there are five senses, we think there are five senses and they're beneath us. Who are we to even say there are five senses? I think somebody, when in some states, one of my auntie came back and said, in Bhagavad Gita, it says humans are evolved and only humans can reach God. Why? Well, didn't your Shiva Purana or something says that there was an elephant which meditated to certain so much extent that Shiva actually came and said, you will be my son. And that is when Ganesha was born and Ganesha was beheaded, this Gajamuga who meditated, he gave his head, and that's how Ganesha's elephant head. If elephants can meditate, ants can't meditate. If Nandi can be a cow, then they can't meditate. We have so much relationship, especially in Hindu mythology. If we have so much relationship with animals and gods, we actually pray them as gods. Then why can't animal meditate? Why are they beneath us? Why can't they reach God? Ask. Let's ask the questions. Next slide, Doctor. Coming to the final most slide of my presentation is, why do we even have to question it? Doctor, just the last slide for 1 more minute, please. Thank you. Why do we even have to question it. If we do not know the answers, why question it? What are energies, attraction, magic, aura, spirituality, chakras, kundalini? Why even question it? Because sometimes in life, we are forced to question it. So forced that we don't have a choice, but we still question it with no answers. Thank you, Kamakshi. Yes, animals are no less than humans. I do not know what Bhagavad Gita is saying. I have not read it. All right. So thank you so much for the opportunity. I just feel so light because now I've just put all of these questions out in the universe with multiple people, and I'm feeling so light.